Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another helpful and powerful episode here at Code Your English. I am really happy that you are here with me today. I hope you are doing well, feeling calm, and ready to learn something new, while also improving your English listening and speaking skills. Today, we are going to talk about something very real, something many people feel, but do not always talk about openly. Today's topic is, why do we always feel sad and jealous when we compare our lives to others? Before we begin, I want to ask you a simple question. Have you ever looked at someone's life and quietly thought, why is their life better than mine? Maybe you saw someone smiling in a beautiful photo on social media. Maybe you saw a friend getting success very quickly. Maybe someone around you seemed more confident, richer, happier, or more successful than you. And suddenly, without expecting it, you started feeling sad inside. Maybe you even started questioning your own life. If this has happened to you, please know something important. You are not alone. Many people experience these feelings, even if they never talk about them. In fact, some people smile outside, but inside they are comparing themselves to others every single day. Sometimes we think we are the only ones struggling with these emotions, but the truth is, many people secretly feel sadness, jealousy, disappointment, or even frustration when they compare their lives to someone else's life. Think about social media for a moment. You open your phone for just a few minutes, and suddenly you see people traveling, buying new things, getting married, learning new skills, speaking English fluently, getting good jobs, or living what looks like a perfect life. You see happy pictures, smiling faces, success stories, and exciting moments. Then, slowly, something changes inside your mind. You may start thinking, everyone is doing better than me. Or maybe you ask yourself, why is my life not like this? Sometimes we compare ourselves to friends. Maybe one friend learns English faster than us. Maybe another friend gets a better job. Maybe someone starts a business and becomes successful quickly. Maybe someone seems more confident in speaking, more attractive, or simply happier. And little by little, we begin to feel like we are falling behind in life. But here is something very important that I want you to think about today. Why do these feelings happen? Why do we feel sad when we see others doing well? Why do we sometimes feel jealous, even when we do not want to? Are these feelings bad? Or are they trying to tell us something important about ourselves? In today's episode, we are going to explore these questions together in a very simple and easy way. We will understand why comparison happens, why it hurts us so much, and most importantly, how we can stop letting comparison steal our happiness. So, stay with me until the end, because I truly believe this episode may help you understand yourself a little better. And while you are listening, try to relax, listen carefully to the English, repeat new words if you want, and most importantly, think deeply about your own life. Maybe, just maybe, today's conversation will make you say quietly to yourself, yes, this happens to me too. What is comparison? Now, before we go deeper into this topic, let us first understand something very important. What is comparison? We hear this word many times, but many people never really stop and think about what it truly means. If we understand comparison clearly, then we can better understand why it sometimes makes us feel sad, jealous, or unhappy. In very simple words, comparison means looking at another person's life and measuring your own life against theirs. It means noticing what someone else has, what they do, how they look, or how successful they are, and then thinking about yourself at the same time. Sometimes comparison happens very quickly, almost without us noticing it. It can happen in just a few seconds, and suddenly our mood changes. For example, imagine you are scrolling through social media. You see someone traveling to beautiful places, smiling in expensive restaurants, or buying something new. At first, you may simply look at the picture, but then your mind quietly starts working. You begin thinking, "Wow, their life looks amazing." Then another thought comes, "My life is not like this." Without realizing it, comparison has already started. Comparison is not only about money or success. People compare many different parts of life. Sometimes we compare money. We may look at someone who earns more and think, they have a better life than me. Maybe they have a nice house, expensive clothes, or a better car, and suddenly we feel like we are not doing enough. Sometimes people compare jobs. Maybe your friend gets a better job, earns more money, or seems more successful in their career. You may feel happy for them, but at the same time, another feeling quietly enters your mind. You may ask yourself, why am I not successful like them? Or maybe you think, I am working hard too, so why am I still behind? Some people compare beauty or appearance. This happens a lot in today's world, especially because of social media. You may see someone who looks very confident, attractive, or stylish, and suddenly you start judging yourself. You may think, I do not look good enough, or why can't I look like that? Sometimes people compare their body, face, skin, clothes, or even their smile. These comparisons can slowly hurt confidence. Relationships are another big area of comparison. Maybe you see people posting happy photos with their partner, husband, wife, or family. You see smiles, celebrations, gifts, and happy moments. Then you look at your own life and feel lonely or unhappy. You may start thinking, everyone else looks happy except me. But what we often forget is that we only see a small part of someone's life, not the full story. And because many of you listening are English learners, let us talk about something very common in language learning. Sometimes we compare our English level with others. Maybe you hear someone speaking English fluently. Their pronunciation sounds good. They speak quickly and confidently. And suddenly, instead of feeling inspired, you start feeling bad about yourself. Maybe you say to yourself, my English is not good. Or, I will never speak like them. Or maybe you even feel embarrassed when speaking English because you think other people are much better than you. This is also comparison. Imagine this simple situation. You are learning English every day. You are trying your best. Then one day, you hear another student speaking English fluently and confidently. Suddenly, instead of feeling proud of your own effort, you feel disappointed. You start thinking, why is their English so good and mine is still weak? This is exactly what comparison looks like. But here is something very important I want you to understand. Comparison is normal. Yes, you heard that correctly. Comparison is a normal human behavior. Humans naturally notice differences. Our minds are always observing people around us. We notice who is doing better, who has more, who seems happier, or who appears more successful. This happens because our brain likes to compare information. Even when we were children, comparison was often around us. Sometimes teachers compared students. Sometimes families compared brothers and sisters. Sometimes people said things like, "Look at them. Why can't you be like them?" Slowly, without even realizing it, many of us learn to compare ourselves with others. But just because comparison is normal does not mean it is always healthy. Sometimes comparison can motivate us. It can inspire us to grow and improve. But many times, comparison hurts us. It makes us forget our own progress. It makes us focus too much on what others have, instead of appreciating what we already have. The truth is, almost everyone compares themselves sometimes. Rich people compare themselves. Successful people compare themselves. Students compare themselves. English learners compare themselves. Even confident people compare themselves sometimes. You are not strange if you do this. You are human. So, as you listen to this episode today, I want you to think about something honestly. Who do you compare yourself to the most? Is it your friends, people online, family members, someone more successful than you, or maybe someone who speaks English better than you? Take a small moment and think about that question, because understanding comparison is the first step to understanding why it affects our emotions so deeply. And once we understand it better, we can slowly learn how to stop comparison from controlling our happiness. Why do we compare ourselves to others? Now that we understand what comparison means, let us go a little deeper and ask an important question. Why do we compare ourselves to other people in the first place? Why do we look at someone else's life and suddenly start thinking about our own? Why does this happen so naturally, even when we do not want it to happen? The first thing to understand is this: humans naturally compare. It is part of being human. Our minds are always noticing differences. We look around us, we observe people, and without even thinking deeply, our brain starts asking questions. How am I doing? Am I successful? Am I doing enough? Am I behind? This happens to almost everyone. Think about daily life for a moment. Imagine you and your friend started learning English at the same time. After a few months, your friend starts speaking more fluently. They speak with confidence. They make fewer mistakes. People even praise their English. Suddenly, your mind becomes very active. You start asking yourself questions like, why are they improving faster than me? Or, am I not learning correctly? Even if you do not want to compare, your brain naturally notices the difference. The truth is, comparison often happens because we are trying to understand our own place in life. Deep inside, many people want answers to simple questions. Am I successful? Am I doing well? Am I moving forward? Am I falling behind? We look at others because sometimes we do not know how to measure our own progress. For example, imagine someone around your age buys a house, gets a good job, starts a successful business, or achieves something important. Suddenly, you may start questioning yourself. What am I doing with my life? Should I be more successful by now? Am I too slow? This is very common. Many people experience these thoughts, but they rarely talk about them openly. But comparison does not only happen because of our natural human mind. There is another important reason. Society teaches us to compare from a very young age. In many ways, comparison starts in childhood, long before social media, jobs, or adult life. Let us think about school for a moment. When we were students, many of us experienced comparison without even noticing it. We got grades, test scores, and rankings. Sometimes one student got higher marks, and another got lower marks. People celebrated the student who performed better. Slowly, many children started believing something very important. My value depends on how well I do compared to others. Maybe you remember hearing things like, "Look at your classmate. Why can't you study like them?" Or maybe teachers praised certain students more than others. Even if nobody wanted to hurt us, these small experiences sometimes taught us to compare ourselves with people around us. Family pressure can also play a big role. Sometimes families compare children without realizing how deeply it affects them. Maybe someone heard words like, "Your cousin is doing better than you," or "Your brother is more responsible," or "Look at how successful that person is." After hearing these things many times, comparison slowly becomes a habit inside the mind. Then, as we grow older, competition becomes a normal part of life. We compete for good grades, jobs, money, opportunities, relationships, and success. Society often sends a message that says, "You must be better. You must move faster. You must succeed quickly." Because of this pressure, many people begin to believe life is a race. And when life feels like a race, comparison becomes stronger. We start watching other people carefully. Who is ahead? Who is behind? Who is winning? But the problem is, this thinking can make us tired, stressed, and unhappy. Today, social expectations also make comparison harder. Society often creates an invisible timeline for life. People may think things should happen at a certain age. Maybe by a certain age, you should have money. Maybe you should be married. Maybe you should have a successful job. Maybe your English should already be fluent. When life does not go according to these expectations, people often feel pressure and disappointment. But here is something very important to think about. Everyone's life journey is different. Some people grow faster in one area. Others grow slowly. Some people struggle silently. Some people succeed early, while others succeed later. But when we compare too much, we forget this truth. Now, I want to ask you a very honest question. And while listening, take a moment to think deeply about it. Did someone compare you to another person when you were young? Maybe it happened at school. Maybe at home. Maybe someone compared your grades, your personality, your skills, or even your dreams. Maybe someone said, "Why can't you be more like them?" Even small comments like these can stay in the heart for many years. Sometimes, people do not even realize how much childhood comparison affects adult life. A person may grow up constantly feeling they are not good enough. They may always feel pressure to prove themselves. They may always feel worried about falling behind because comparison became a habit very early in life. This is why understanding comparison is so important. Comparison did not start today. It often starts very early, little by little, through school, family, competition, and social pressure. And because it has been with us for so long, many of us compare ourselves without even noticing it. But understanding this gives us something powerful. It helps us stop blaming ourselves. It helps us realize, maybe this feeling did not suddenly appear. Maybe I learned this habit a long time ago. And when we understand where comparison comes from, we can slowly begin learning how to deal with it in a healthier way. Why comparison makes us feel sad. Now let us talk about something very important. Why does comparison make us feel sad? Why can one small moment of looking at another person's life suddenly change our mood? Why do we sometimes feel okay 1 minute, but then feel disappointed, unhappy, or even emotionally heavy after comparing ourselves to someone else? To understand this, we need to understand something very simple, but very powerful. Most of the time, we only see the best part of other people's lives. We do not see the full picture. We only see the parts people choose to show us. Think about this for a moment. Imagine someone posts a beautiful picture on social media. They are smiling. Maybe they are traveling to another country. Maybe they are eating at an expensive restaurant. Maybe they just bought a new house, got a promotion, or achieved something exciting. When we see this, our mind quickly creates a story. We start thinking, wow, their life is perfect. Or maybe we quietly say, why is my life not like theirs? But here is something very important that many people forget. People usually show their happy moments, not their difficult moments. Most people do not post pictures when they are crying, stressed, lonely, worried, or struggling. They usually do not show sleepless nights, failures, arguments, fear, or emotional pain. Someone may post a smiling photo today, but maybe yesterday they were feeling sad. Someone may show success online, but maybe they failed many times before reaching that moment. Someone may look happy in a picture, but inside they may also have worries and problems. The truth is, every person has struggles, even if we cannot see them. No life is perfect. Every person experiences fear, disappointment, stress, and hard days. But because we only see small parts of their life, we sometimes forget this reality. This is one big reason comparison hurts so much. We compare our real everyday life to someone else's best moments. And of course, this feels unfair. Let me explain this in a very simple way. Imagine your own life is like a movie where you can see everything. You see your problems, mistakes, fears, bad days, and struggles. You know your financial worries. You know your stress. You know your failures. You know what keeps you awake at night. But when you look at someone else, you only see short moments. A beautiful picture, a happy video, a success story, a smiling face. This creates a very unfair comparison. That is why I want you to remember this powerful idea. We compare our behind-the-scenes life to someone else's best moments. Let me say that again because it is very important. We compare our behind-the-scenes life to someone else's best moments. And when we do this, sadness often appears. Imagine this real-life example. A person is scrolling through social media after a long, stressful day. Maybe they are tired from work. Maybe money is difficult right now. Maybe life feels confusing. Then suddenly, they see someone online posting pictures of a beautiful new house. Everyone in the photo looks happy. Family members are smiling. The caption says something like, "Dreams come true." At first, the person may feel happy for them. But after a few moments, another feeling quietly enters the heart. They begin thinking, wow, they bought a house. I still do not have my own house. I am working hard, too. Why am I so behind? Maybe I am failing in life. And suddenly, sadness appears. But here is the important question. Did their life actually become worse in that moment? No. Their life stayed exactly the same. The only thing that changed was the comparison happening inside their mind. This is how comparison creates sadness. It changes the way we see ourselves. Instead of noticing our own progress, we suddenly focus only on what we do not have. Instead of appreciating what is already good in our life, we start feeling incomplete. Instead of saying, I am growing slowly, we start saying, I am not enough. This also happens in English learning. Imagine you are improving your English step by step. Maybe 6 months ago, you could not understand podcasts, but now you can understand much more. Maybe your speaking is slowly improving. Then one day, you hear someone speak in English very fluently. Their pronunciation sounds perfect. They speak naturally and confidently. Suddenly, instead of feeling proud of your own progress, sadness appears. You may think, "My English is terrible. I will never speak like that. I am too slow." But again, something important is happening. You are only seeing one moment of their journey. You are not seeing how many mistakes they made, how much practice they did, how much fear they faced, or how long it took them to improve. You only see the result. And when we only compare results, sadness grows very quickly. Another reason comparison makes us sad is because it sometimes makes us feel like we are behind in life. We start believing everyone else is moving faster than us. Friends get jobs, people get married, someone becomes successful, someone learns new skills, someone travels, someone earns more money. And quietly, the mind asks painful questions. What about me? Why is my life not moving faster? Am I wasting time? These questions can become emotionally heavy. But here's something important I want you to think about deeply today. Just because someone is ahead in one area of life does not mean you are failing in yours. Life is not the same for everyone. Different people have different opportunities, different struggles, different timing, and different journeys. The problem is not seeing other people succeed. The problem begins when we turn their success into proof that we are not enough. And that is why comparison often creates sadness. Not because our life is truly bad, but because comparison changes the story we tell ourselves about our own life. So, next time sadness appears after comparing yourself to someone, pause for a moment and ask yourself something honest. Am I comparing my full reality to only the best moment of someone else's life? Because sometimes that one question can completely change the way you see yourself. Why comparison creates jealousy? Now let us talk about another feeling that often appears when we compare ourselves to others, and that feeling is jealousy. This is a feeling many people experience, but very few people openly talk about. Sometimes people feel embarrassed to admit it. Sometimes they feel guilty. Some people even think, if I feel jealous, maybe I am a bad person. But today, I want us to understand jealousy in a simple, calm, and honest way. First, let us ask a very important question. What is jealousy? In simple words, jealousy is a feeling that comes when we see someone else having something we wish we had. Maybe they have success, confidence, money, beauty, happiness, a good relationship, better English skills, or opportunities we want for ourselves. For example, imagine your friend starts speaking English very fluently. They speak confidently. People admire their English. Maybe they even get a better job because of their language skills. You may smile and say, "Wow, great job." But quietly inside, another feeling may appear. You may think, "I wish I could speak like that too." That feeling is jealousy. Or imagine someone you know buys a beautiful house, travels often, or seems very successful in life. You may feel happy for them, but at the same time, a small, painful feeling may enter your heart. You may ask yourself, why don't I have that? Again, this is jealousy. Now here is something very important that I really want you to understand. Feeling jealous does not automatically mean you are a bad person. Let me say that again. Jealousy does not always mean you are bad. This is very important because many people judge themselves too quickly. They think, "Why am I feeling this way? I should not feel jealous." Then they start feeling guilty. But the truth is, jealousy is a normal human emotion. Almost everyone feels jealous sometimes. Even kind people, even successful people, even confident people. The real question is not, do I ever feel jealous? The real question is, what do I do with that feeling? Sometimes jealousy is actually trying to tell us something important. Very often, jealousy simply means, I also want something better for my life. Think about that for a moment. Sometimes jealousy is not really about the other person at all. Sometimes it is simply showing us our own dreams, hopes, and desires. For example, if you feel jealous of someone speaking English fluently, maybe that feeling is telling you something important. I also want to improve my English. If you feel jealous of someone who looks confident, maybe your heart is quietly saying, I want more confidence too. If you feel jealous of someone who built a successful career, maybe inside you are saying, I also want to grow and succeed. When we understand jealousy this way, it becomes less scary. Instead of seeing it as something ugly, we can start seeing it as information about what matters to us. But jealousy is often connected to deeper feelings too. Sometimes jealousy is not only jealousy. Sometimes hidden emotions are quietly living underneath it. One hidden feeling is fear. Sometimes we fear that we may never reach our goals. We fear staying behind. We fear failure. We fear that maybe life will not improve. Imagine someone your age becoming very successful while you still feel confused about your future. Jealousy may appear, but underneath it, fear may be whispering, what if I never succeed? Another hidden feeling is insecurity. Sometimes comparison makes us question ourselves. We begin wondering, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I attractive enough? Am I capable enough? This insecurity can make jealousy feel even stronger. Another hidden feeling is self-doubt. Self-doubt happens when we stop believing in ourselves. We start thinking, maybe I cannot do it. Maybe I am not talented. Maybe I started too late. This happens to many English learners too. Someone hears fluent speakers and suddenly thinks, maybe my English will never improve. But remember, fluent speakers were beginners once too. And sometimes jealousy comes from a painful feeling that many people secretly carry inside. Feeling left behind. This feeling can hurt deeply. You see people getting married, building careers, earning money, achieving goals, or improving faster than you. And quietly, your heart asks, why is everyone moving forward except me? This feeling can be very emotional, but I want you to remember something important here. Life is not a race with one timeline. Different people grow at different speeds. Some people bloom early. Some bloom later. Slow progress is still progress. Now, here is the most important message in this part of the episode. Jealousy only becomes dangerous when it turns into hate or bitterness. Feeling jealous for a moment is human. But problems begin when jealousy changes into something darker. For example, instead of learning from others, we start secretly hating them. Instead of feeling inspired, we become bitter. Instead of saying, I can grow too, we say, I hope they fail. This kind of jealousy hurts us the most because it fills the heart with negativity. But there is a healthier way to respond. The next time jealousy appears, try asking yourself a different question. Instead of asking, why do they have it? Try asking, What can I learn from them? This small question can completely change your mindset. Maybe someone speaks English fluently because they practiced every day. Maybe someone became successful because they stayed patient. Maybe someone built confidence by facing fear many times. Instead of letting jealousy pull you down, let it teach you something. Because sometimes the people we envy are actually showing us what is possible. So, next time you feel jealous, do not be too hard on yourself. Pause for a moment and ask honestly, what is this feeling trying to teach me about the life I want to build? Sometimes, jealousy is not proof that something is wrong with you. Sometimes, it is simply proof that there is something meaningful you still want for your future. The hidden problems of comparing too much. Now let us talk about something very important. So far, we have understood what comparison is, why we do it, and why it can make us feel sad or jealous. But now we need to ask an important question. What happens when we compare ourselves too much? Because the truth is, comparison itself is not always dangerous. Sometimes comparison can motivate us. Sometimes it helps us learn and improve. But when comparison becomes too strong, too frequent, or too emotional, it can slowly start hurting our mind, our confidence, and even our happiness. The scary thing is that many people do not even realize this is happening. They think comparison is helping them, but slowly, little by little, it begins stealing their peace. One hidden problem of comparing too much is stress. Think about this for a moment. Imagine constantly looking around and feeling like everyone else is doing better than you. Someone earns more money, someone gets married, someone becomes successful faster, someone speaks English better, someone looks happier. After some time, your mind becomes tired. You start feeling pressure all the time. You may begin asking yourself questions like, why am I not there yet? Why am I so slow? Am I wasting my life? When these thoughts happen again and again, stress slowly grows inside the mind. Life starts feeling like a race you are losing. And when life feels like a race, it becomes very hard to feel peaceful. Another hidden problem is low confidence. This is something comparison can quietly destroy without us even noticing. Imagine you are trying your best. Maybe you are improving step by step. Maybe 6 months ago you were weaker, but now you are growing. But instead of noticing your progress, you keep looking at people who are already ahead of you. Slowly, you stop feeling proud of yourself. You stop noticing your improvement. You begin focusing only on what you still cannot do. And after some time, you may start believing painful things like, I am not smart enough. I am not talented. Maybe I am not good enough. This is dangerous because confidence grows through noticing progress, not through constant comparison. The more we compare, the harder it becomes to believe in ourselves. Another big problem is overthinking. Too much comparison often creates too many thoughts. Your mind becomes busy all the time. You keep thinking, why are they better? What am I doing wrong? Why am I behind? Will I ever become successful? And suddenly, your brain never rests. Even when nothing is wrong, your mind feels heavy. You start thinking too much about your future, too much about your mistakes, too much about other people's lives. This overthinking can become emotionally exhausting. Instead of living peacefully, we become trapped inside our own thoughts. Another painful effect of comparison is the feeling of being not good enough. This feeling hurts deeply because it changes how we see ourselves. Imagine constantly seeing people who seem more successful, richer, more attractive, smarter, or more confident than you. After a while, you may stop appreciating yourself completely. You may begin feeling like no matter what you do, it is never enough. Maybe you improve your English, but then you hear someone more fluent. Maybe you get a better job, but someone else earns more money. Maybe you achieve something important, but someone else achieves something bigger. So instead of celebrating progress, you keep moving the goal further away. And this creates a painful cycle where nothing ever feels enough. Another hidden problem is losing happiness. This one is very important, because comparison has a strange habit. It steals joy from moments that should make us happy. Imagine something good happens in your life. Maybe your English improves. Maybe you get a new opportunity. Maybe you save some money. Maybe you achieve a small goal. Normally, this should make you feel proud. But comparison enters the mind and whispers, "Yes, but look at them. They are doing better." And suddenly, your happiness disappears. You stop enjoying your own progress. You stop feeling grateful for what is already good. And instead of feeling joy, you only feel pressure. This is one of the saddest things comparison can do. It makes us forget to enjoy our own journey. But maybe the biggest danger of too much comparison is this. Sometimes it makes people give up too early. And this happens more often than people realize. Let us talk about a very real example, especially for English learners listening today. Imagine someone starts learning English. At first, they feel excited. They practice vocabulary. They listen to podcasts. They try speaking. Little by little, they improve. But then, one day, they watch someone speaking English fluently. The person speaks naturally. Their pronunciation sounds perfect. They speak quickly and confidently. And suddenly, comparison starts. The learner begins thinking, "My English is terrible. I will never sound like this. I am too slow. Maybe English is not for me." Instead of feeling motivated, they feel discouraged. Instead of continuing, they slowly stop practicing. Eventually, they quit. But here is the sad part. What they do not realize is this. The fluent speaker was once a beginner, too. That fluent person probably made many mistakes. They probably struggled. They probably felt embarrassed sometimes. But the learner only saw the final result, not the long journey. And because of comparison, they gave up too early. This happens in many areas of life. People quit businesses. People stop learning skills. People stop chasing dreams. Not because they are incapable, but because comparison made them feel hopeless. That is why comparing too much can become dangerous. Because slowly it can create stress, destroy confidence, increase overthinking, make us feel not good enough, steal happiness, and even stop us from growing. So today, I want you to ask yourself something honestly. Is comparison helping me grow? Or is it slowly making me feel smaller? Because there is a big difference between learning from others and constantly hurting yourself by measuring your life against theirs. And remember this important truth. Someone being ahead of you does not mean you are failing. Your journey is still your journey. Your progress still matters. And growing slowly is still growing. The biggest lie comparison tells you. Now let us talk about one of the biggest lies comparison tells us. This lie is very powerful because many people believe it without even realizing it. The lie sounds simple, but it can deeply affect how we see ourselves and our lives. The lie is this: you are behind. Maybe you have felt this before. You look at someone your age who already has a good job, money, confidence, success, or even a happy relationship, and suddenly something changes inside your mind. You start thinking, why am I not there yet? Maybe you see someone speaking English fluently, and instead of feeling motivated, you quietly think, I am too late, or I will never become that good. Slowly, comparison makes it feel like life is a race, and everyone else is moving faster than you. The problem is that when we compare ourselves too much, we begin to believe that moving slowly means failing. We see other people achieving things earlier than us, and we start feeling pressure. Maybe one friend gets married earlier. Another becomes financially successful. Someone else seems more confident or more skilled, and because we only look at where they are now, we begin feeling worried about our own life. We quietly ask ourselves difficult questions like, am I wasting my time? Or, why does everyone else seem ahead? Over time, these thoughts can become emotionally heavy, and we may begin believing something painful. Maybe I am failing in life. But here is something very important I want you to remember today. What if you are not actually behind? What if you are simply moving at a different speed? This is something comparison often hides from us. The truth is that everyone has different timing in life. Life does not happen in the same way for everyone, and there is no perfect age or perfect timeline for success, happiness, confidence, or personal growth. Some people succeed early, while others need more time. Some people struggle for years before life slowly begins improving. Some people discover their passion quickly, while others need many years to understand themselves. None of these journeys are wrong. They are simply different. Think about learning English for a moment because many of you listening are English learners. Imagine two students starting English at the same time. One person becomes fluent after 2 years, while another person needs 5 years to feel confident speaking. Does this mean the second person failed? Of course not. It simply means they learned at a different speed. Growth still happened. Progress still happened. Learning still happened. The timeline was different, but the results still mattered. In life, people often forget this truth. They think slower progress means failure, but slower progress is still progress. Another important thing comparison often hides from us is that many people struggle quietly. We often look at someone's success and think their life is perfect, but we rarely see what happens behind the scenes. Someone may look happy online while secretly feeling lonely. Someone may look successful while dealing with stress every day. A confident person may secretly struggle with fear and self-doubt. A wealthy person may still feel unhappy inside. The truth is, every person carries struggles, even if they do not show them publicly. But comparison tricks us into believing that everyone else is doing perfectly, while we are the only ones struggling. This is one reason social media can make comparison feel even worse. We mostly see people sharing exciting moments, achievements, travel pictures, promotions, beautiful relationships, or personal success. We rarely see disappointment, fear, mistakes, failures, or sadness. Because of this, our minds create an unfair story. We begin thinking, everyone's life is better than mine. But remember something important. You are often comparing your real, everyday life to someone else's best moments. And this comparison is never fair. Sometimes life moves slowly, because life is preparing us in different ways. Think about a seed growing into a tree. Not every tree grows at the same speed. Some grow quickly, while others take much longer. But taking longer does not mean the tree is weak or broken. Growth is still happening, even when it feels slow. Human life works in a similar way. Some people bloom early, while others bloom later. But blooming later does not mean missing your chance. That is why I want you to remember one powerful lesson from today's episode. Different speed does not mean failure. Just because someone is ahead of you in one area of life does not mean you are losing. Just because your journey looks different does not mean your future will stay the same. Life is not a competition with one finish line. Everyone has different struggles, different opportunities, different lessons, and different timing. So today, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. Am I truly behind? Or am I simply growing at my own speed? Because maybe you are not failing at all. Maybe your story is simply unfolding differently. Maybe your progress is slower, but it is still real. And sometimes, the people who succeed are not the fastest people. Sometimes, they are simply the people who kept going, even when progress felt slow. Why social media makes comparison worse. Now let us talk about something that affects almost everyone today, especially in modern life, and that is social media. Whether it is Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, or another platform, many of us spend a lot of time looking at other people's lives. Sometimes we open our phone for only a few minutes, but after scrolling, we suddenly feel strange. Maybe we feel sad, jealous, stressed, or disappointed with ourselves. Sometimes we even start questioning our own life without understanding why. So, an important question to ask is this: why does social media make comparison feel worse? To understand this, we first need to realize something very important. Social media often shows edited lives, not complete lives. What does that mean? It means people usually share the best, happiest, and most exciting moments of their lives. Before posting something, many people choose the best photo, use filters, edit pictures, or carefully think about what they want others to see. Of course, there is nothing wrong with sharing happy moments. The problem starts when we forget that what we are seeing is only a small part of reality. We are not seeing the full story of someone's life. We are only seeing selected moments. Imagine this situation for a moment. You open social media and see someone traveling to beautiful places. They are smiling in every picture, eating delicious food, and enjoying life. Immediately, your mind may begin comparing. You might quietly think, "Their life looks amazing," or "Why is my life not exciting like that?" But what you do not see is what may be happening behind those pictures. Maybe they are dealing with financial stress. Maybe they feel lonely. Maybe they are worried about something in their personal life. Maybe they are struggling emotionally, but simply choose not to show it online. This is something we often forget. One reason comparison becomes stronger on social media is because people usually post their wins, not their struggles. Think about what people normally share online. Most people post success, achievements, travel photos, celebrations, happy moments, promotions, new jobs, beautiful relationships, or exciting news. They share moments that make life look exciting and successful. But very few people share the difficult parts of life. Think honestly for a moment. How often do people post pictures of themselves crying after a difficult day? How often do people say, "Today I felt afraid," or "I failed and feel disappointed," or "I am stressed and confused about my future"? The answer is usually not very often. Most people do not post their failures. Most people do not post their fear. Most people do not show their stress, loneliness, or emotional struggles. Because of this, social media can slowly create an unrealistic picture in our minds. It starts looking like everyone else is happy, successful, confident, and doing well, while we are the only ones struggling. But the truth is something very different. Every person struggles in some way, even if we cannot see it. Someone may look confident online, but secretly feel insecure. Someone may appear successful, but feel deeply stressed every day. A person who looks happy in pictures may secretly be dealing with sadness, loneliness, or personal problems. We rarely see these hidden parts because people usually keep them private. And because we do not see the difficult moments, our minds begin creating unfair comparisons. That is why I want you to remember one very simple but powerful idea. Social media is often a highlight video, not real life. Think about what a highlight video means. Imagine watching highlights from a football match. You only see the best goals, exciting moments, and important parts. You do not see every mistake, every boring moment, or every struggle during the game. Social media works in a similar way. People mostly show highlights. They show smiles, vacations, achievements, success, beautiful moments, and exciting news. But real life is much more than highlights. Real life includes difficult days. Real life includes stress, mistakes, confusion, sadness, fear, and disappointment. Everyone experiences these things, but social media rarely shows them. Because of this, we sometimes compare our real everyday life, with all its problems and challenges, to someone else's carefully selected happy moments. And this comparison is never fair. Let us think about English learning for a moment, because many of you listening are trying to improve your English. Imagine you are working hard every day. You listen to podcasts, practice speaking, and learn vocabulary little by little. Then one day, while scrolling online, you hear someone speaking fluent English. Their pronunciation sounds perfect. They speak quickly and confidently. Immediately, comparison begins. You may think, "Why is my English still weak?" Or, "I will never speak like that." Slowly, you begin feeling discouraged. But here is what you are not seeing. You are not seeing how many mistakes that person made when they started learning. You are not seeing the years of practice, the embarrassment, the fear of speaking, or the difficult moments they probably faced. You are only seeing the result, not the journey. And when we only compare results, we often become unfair to ourselves. Another hidden problem with social media is that it can quietly create the feeling that we are falling behind in life. We scroll online and see people getting married, buying houses, traveling, learning skills, starting businesses, becoming successful, or reaching goals. Slowly, it may start feeling like everyone else is moving forward while we are standing still. We stop noticing our own progress because we become too focused on other people's journeys. And this is why I want to ask you one very honest question today. How do you feel after spending time online? Do you feel inspired and motivated? Or do you feel worse about yourself? Do you feel encouraged to grow? Or do you suddenly feel like you are not enough? Take a moment and think deeply about that question, because your answer matters. Sometimes social media itself is not the biggest problem. Sometimes the real problem is how comparison changes the way we see ourselves. It makes us forget our own growth, our own efforts, and our own progress. So, the next time you spend time online and suddenly start feeling bad about your life, stop for a moment and remind yourself of something important. You are seeing someone's highlight video, not their whole reality. Their life has struggles too, even if you cannot see them. And your real life should never be judged against someone else's carefully chosen moments. Healthy comparison versus unhealthy comparison. Now let us talk about something very important, because many people believe that all comparison is bad, but that is not completely true. The truth is that comparison can be either helpful or harmful, depending on how we use it. Sometimes comparison helps us grow, learn, and become better. Other times, comparison slowly damages our confidence and happiness. That is why it is important to understand the difference between healthy comparison and unhealthy comparison. When we understand this difference, we can stop comparison from hurting us and start using it in a wiser way. Let us begin with healthy comparison. Healthy comparison happens when we look at another person's success and feel inspired instead of discouraged. It happens when we learn from others rather than feeling bad about ourselves. In healthy comparison, we do not use another person's progress as proof that we are failing. Instead, we see their success as a reminder that improvement is possible. For example, imagine you hear someone speaking English very fluently. Their pronunciation sounds clear, they speak confidently, and they seem very comfortable using English. At that moment, your mind can react in a healthy way. Instead of feeling sad, you may think something like this: their English is really good. If they improved, maybe I can improve too. This type of thinking creates motivation. Instead of attacking yourself, you become curious. You may even begin wondering what helped them improve. Maybe they practiced speaking every day. Maybe they listened to podcasts regularly. Maybe they made many mistakes but stayed patient and never gave up. Suddenly, comparison becomes something useful because it helps you learn. Healthy comparison also helps us understand an important truth. Someone else's success does not take away our chance to succeed. Sometimes people act as if life is a competition where only a few people can win, but that is not true. Another person improving does not stop your own growth. Another person becoming successful does not mean success has disappeared for you. Life is not a race where only one person reaches the finish line. Imagine one of your friends becomes fluent in English before you. A healthy comparison says, that means improvement is possible. If they learned, I can learn too. Instead of feeling hopeless, you feel encouraged. Their success becomes proof that growth can happen. You may even ask yourself useful questions like, what can I learn from them? Or, what habits helped them improve? This kind of comparison creates hope because it focuses on learning and growth. Healthy comparison can help in many parts of life, not only English learning. Maybe you see someone becoming healthier, more disciplined, or more confident. Instead of feeling bad about yourself, you may feel inspired to improve your own habits. You may start exercising more, practicing skills, or building confidence step by step. In this way, comparison becomes a teacher rather than something painful. But now let us talk about the other side, which is unhealthy comparison. This is the type of comparison that slowly damages confidence and happiness. Unhealthy comparison happens when we constantly compare ourselves to others in a painful and unfair way. Instead of learning from people, we start feeling smaller because of them. Instead of motivation, we feel discouragement. Let us go back to the same English learning example. Imagine hearing someone speak fluent English again, but this time, instead of feeling inspired, your mind reacts differently. You start thinking, their English is so much better than mine, or I will never sound like that, or even, what is the point of trying? This is unhealthy comparison. Notice how different it feels emotionally. Instead of hope, there is disappointment. Instead of growth, there is self-doubt. Over time, unhealthy comparison can become emotionally exhausting because it changes how we see ourselves. We stop noticing our own progress and begin focusing only on what we still cannot do. Maybe your English has improved a lot compared to 6 months ago, but instead of celebrating that progress, you compare yourself to someone much more advanced and suddenly feel bad. Maybe you improve in life, but comparison quickly whispers, it is still not enough. This kind of thinking can slowly create another painful feeling. Feeling jealous all the time. You begin watching other people's lives too closely. Every success they have starts making you feel worse about yourself. Someone gets a better job, and you feel behind. Someone becomes confident, and you feel insecure. Someone reaches a goal, and you feel like a failure. Instead of feeling happy for others or motivated by them, comparison becomes emotionally heavy. And if unhealthy comparison continues for too long, something even more painful can happen. Sometimes people begin hating themselves. They stop seeing their strengths and only focus on weaknesses. They forget how far they have come because they are too busy looking at how far someone else has gone. Slowly, painful thoughts start appearing in the mind. A person may begin saying things like, I am not smart enough, or I am too slow, or I will never succeed. And perhaps one of the most painful thoughts of all is this: I will never be good enough. The sad thing is that many people believe these thoughts are true when they are not. They simply come from constant comparison. The problem is not that the person has no value. The problem is that they have spent too much time measuring themselves against others in an unfair way. This is why learning to compare wisely is so important. Healthy comparison helps us grow because it says, I can improve too. It reminds us that progress is possible. Unhealthy comparison hurts us because it says, I am not enough. It steals confidence and makes us forget our own journey. So, the next time you compare yourself to someone, stop for a moment and ask yourself one honest question. Is this comparison helping me grow, or is it only making me feel smaller? That question matters because comparison itself is not always the enemy. Sometimes comparison can inspire us, teach us, and help us improve, but only when we use it in a healthy way. And always remember this important truth. You do not need to become someone else to have a meaningful life. You only need to keep becoming a better version of yourself, one step at a time. How to stop comparing yourself too much. Now let us move to one of the most practical and important parts of this episode. We have already understood why comparison happens and how it affects our emotions, but now the real question is, how can we stop comparing ourselves too much in daily life? Because understanding the problem is not enough. We also need simple and realistic steps that we can actually use in our everyday routine. The goal is not to completely remove comparison, because that may not be possible, but to stop it from controlling our thoughts, emotions, and happiness. One of the most powerful ways to reduce comparison is to focus more on your own growth instead of other people's lives. This sounds simple, but it can completely change your mindset if you practice it regularly. Many people spend a lot of time watching what others are doing. They see other people's success, money, relationships, confidence, or achievements, and slowly forget to focus on their own progress. But when you shift your attention back to yourself, your mind becomes calmer. Instead of asking, "Why are they doing better than me?" you begin asking, "What can I improve in my own life today?" This small change in thinking reduces stress and brings your attention back to what you can actually control. Another very important habit is to compare yourself with your past self instead of other people. This is one of the healthiest ways to measure progress. When you constantly compare yourself with others, you will always find someone who is ahead of you in some area. But when you compare yourself with who you were in the past, you start noticing real growth. For example, maybe 6 months ago your English was weaker, your confidence was lower, or your habits were less organized. Now, even if you are not perfect, you may still be better than before. This kind of thinking helps you feel proud of your journey, instead of feeling disappointed. This is why I want to give you a very simple but powerful exercise that you can use anytime you feel comparison becoming too strong. Just pause and ask yourself, "Am I better than I was 6 months ago?" This question is important because it brings your focus back to your own progress. Maybe the answer is yes, maybe it is a small yes, or maybe you are still working on it. But even small improvement matters. Sometimes we forget how far we have come because we only look at how far we still want to go. This exercise helps you see your progress more clearly. Another helpful step is to spend less time online if social media is increasing comparison in your life. Social media is not always bad, and it can be useful for learning and communication. But too much exposure to other people's highlight moments can affect your emotions. If you notice that after scrolling you feel sad, insecure, or not good enough, then it may be a sign to reduce your time online or change what you are watching. Instead of following accounts that make you feel pressure or sadness, you can choose content that teaches you, motivates you, or helps you grow. This simple change can protect your mental peace. Along with this, one of the most powerful habits you can build is practicing gratitude. Gratitude means paying attention to what is already good in your life, instead of only focusing on what is missing. When comparison becomes strong, it makes us feel like we do not have enough. We start thinking about what others have that we don't. But gratitude gently shifts our focus back to our own life. It reminds us that even if everything is not perfect, there are still things to appreciate. Maybe you have opportunities to learn. Maybe you have people who support you. Maybe you are healthy. Maybe you are slowly improving. These things matter more than we sometimes realize. Another important habit is to celebrate small progress. Many people only feel happy when they achieve something big, but life is actually built on small steps. If you are learning English, even small improvements matter. Maybe you understand more words than before. Maybe you speak a little more confidently, or maybe you make fewer mistakes. These are real signs of progress, but comparison often makes us ignore them. Instead of appreciating small wins, we focus only on what is still missing. But when you learn to celebrate small progress, you start feeling more confident and motivated. Finally, One of the most important lessons is to stop rushing your journey. Many people feel pressure to succeed quickly or reach their goals faster than others, but life does not work on a fixed timeline. Everyone grows at a different speed. Some people improve quickly, while others need more time, and both are completely normal. Rushing your journey only creates stress and makes comparison stronger. When you accept that growth takes time, you start feeling more peaceful and patient with yourself. So if we bring all of this together, the key idea is simple. Instead of constantly looking at others, you focus on your own progress, your own improvements, and your own journey. You compare yourself with who you were before, not with people who are on different paths. You reduce negative online influence, practice gratitude, appreciate small wins, and allow yourself time to grow. And that is why I want to leave you with this simple but powerful thought. Real growth happens when you stop rushing, stop comparing too much, and start focusing on becoming a little better every day than you were yesterday. Let us now come to a small but very powerful real-life story. Imagine a student who is learning English with full motivation at the beginning. They are excited, they practice every day, and they truly want to improve. But one day, something changes. They start comparing themselves to their friends. They see their classmates speaking English more fluently, more confidently, and more naturally. Every time they speak, they feel like others are better. Every time they try, they feel slower. Slowly, a feeling of sadness starts building inside them. At first, it is just a small feeling, but over time, it becomes stronger. They start thinking, why am I not improving like them? Or, maybe I am not good at languages. Every time they open their mouth to speak English, they feel nervous. They begin avoiding practice because they feel embarrassed. Eventually, they even start thinking about giving up. The dream of learning English, which once made them happy, now feels heavy and stressful. Comparison slowly takes away their confidence without them even noticing it. But one day, something small changes inside them. Instead of focusing on others, they decide to focus on themselves. They stop looking at who is better and start paying attention to their own progress. They begin practicing small things every day, like learning a few new words, repeating simple sentences, and listening carefully without pressure. They stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be consistent. They remind themselves that even small improvement is still improvement. At first, progress feels very slow. They do not see big changes immediately, but they continue anyway. Day by day, they practice a little. Week by week, they improve a little more. Slowly, something beautiful starts happening. They begin to understand more English than before. They start speaking with less fear. They make mistakes, but they do not stop. They keep going. After a few months, they look back and realize something powerful. They are no longer the same person. Their confidence has grown. Their speaking has improved. They still are not perfect, but they are much better than before. And most importantly, they no longer feel jealous of others. Instead, they feel motivated and calm. They understand that everyone has their own journey, and their own progress is enough. This simple shift from comparison to self-growth completely changes their learning experience. And this brings us to an important life lesson. Your journey is different. Every person you see around you is living a life shaped by different experiences, different struggles, different opportunities, and different timing. Some people had more support in their learning. Some started earlier. Some had more confidence from the beginning. Some had different environments that helped them grow faster. At the same time, others may be struggling silently, even if they look successful from the outside. This is why comparing your life directly to someone else's life is never fully fair. You are not seeing their full story, and they are not living your story. Everyone carries different challenges that you cannot always see. Someone may look successful, but they may have struggled for many years before reaching that point. Someone may look confident, but they may have gone through fear and failure many times. Everyone has a different path, and everyone is learning in their own way. That is why this simple but powerful truth is so important to remember. Someone else's success does not remove your chance to succeed. Life is not a limited race where only a few people can win. Another person improving does not mean your opportunity disappears. Another person becoming successful does not mean you cannot succeed. There is space for everyone to grow, improve, and achieve their goals in their own time. Now take a moment for a small reflection exercise. If you are listening to this, try to think about your own life honestly and gently. Ask yourself, who do you usually compare yourself to? Is it friends, classmates, people online, or people you see in daily life? And when you compare yourself to them, how does it make you feel? Do you feel inspired, or do you feel sad and discouraged? Then ask yourself something even more important. What is one good thing in your life right now? It can be something small, like having the ability to learn, having access to English content, having supportive people, or simply being able to try again every day. And also ask yourself this final question. What small progress have you made recently? Maybe your English is slightly better than before. Maybe you understand more words. Maybe you feel a little more confident than last month. Even small progress is still real progress. Sometimes we forget these things because we focus too much on others instead of ourselves. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to share a final emotional message with you. Please remember this in your heart. Stop being too hard on yourself. Your journey matters, even if it feels slow. Growth takes time, and you do not need to move at someone else's speed to be successful in your life. Every person is walking a different path, and your path is still unfolding in its own way. Even if you do not see big results immediately, you are still growing, learning, and becoming stronger step by step. So do not let comparison steal your peace. Your life is your own journey, and even if it feels slow sometimes, you are growing more than you think. Keep going, keep learning, and keep believing in your progress. And finally, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Code Your English. I truly hope this podcast helps you not only improve your English, but also understand yourself better and feel more confident in your own journey. Keep practicing, keep learning, and do not stop your progress. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to stay connected and listen to more episodes, because every episode is created to help you grow step by step in your English and in your life. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.